And obviously we want to share that with you because it's not my money, it's our money. We made this happen together. And to give you some idea about what we think, having been there now, we think we can do at a distance, because we have to bear in mind geography doesn't make it easy for us in terms of what we might be able to do. And we think we've come up with some ideas of things that will be a good, effective use of our money. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Cheryl, who came with us also, and my son Michael, who also came with us. Cheryl's going to give us just a little bit of a background of how we got here, why was this important, and then Michael's going to tell you about the practicalities of what happened when we were there. And then I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do at the end of it. All week things have been buzzing through my head of what we might do, what we do, and I've dropped some notes and I'll ad-lib it and come up with something at the end. And then feel free to ask us questions, because everybody's got different ideas. I think one of the things that we really come across in the time, in the kind of forum and face of things that we're involved in, everybody's got a different idea of what might be a good idea. And what I've been saying is, actually they're all good ideas, it doesn't really matter. We don't need to diss somebody else's idea or this or that idea, we don't need to get involved in that. We just need to decide what we think is a good idea and get on and do it. So, without further ado, I'll hand you over to Cheryl, who will give us a bit of just a background about why we were there, what the point of being there was.
She said, why we were there? Nicola said to me, we were talking about how this evening was going to go, who was going to say what. And we didn't want to, have any duplication of what we were going to say, so we had a very brief discussion about who was going to say what. And she said, why don't you just say how you got involved in this in the first place? I have no idea. No idea how you got involved in this. As far as I can remember, just like everybody here, I had an urge to do something when I saw the reports. I don't have a TV and I'm very seldom listen to radio, so I've not been exposed to a lot of reporting, but I have been hearing that it's maybe the reality and reporting that don't always match up in terms of what's actually going on and who these people are and the motivations of being there and how they got to Calais in the first place. So I've been hearing a lot about this and felt motivated to do something, and I think this is Claire's initiative, but she was influenced by a party that went just the week before we arrived, on Tuesday, so we set off on Saturday. And they had a Just Getting page on Facebook, and Claire shared it, and I thought, and that's a good thing to do. And it was a good thing to do. And then the next thing was, I was talking to Claire, and she said, we've got far more women's clothing than men's clothing, and desperately crying out for men's clothing. Well, I've got my late husband's clothes under the bed doing nothing that I've been clinging to, and I thought, that's the challenge. That's the challenge I've got to give that. And then the next thing, Claire said, I think I might be going to Calais. And I said, I think I might go with you. Don't know where that came from, but I said that to her. And then, about less than a week later, I woke up on Sunday morning and got a message on my messenger phone, and it said, right, Miss Easton, are you serious about this? Because we're going inside a week. And so that's how it happened for us. It's starting from then on. So we've got less than a week. We don't have a fundraising page up yet. We need to get that sorted. We need to get that sorted on Tuesday. We need £500. That's what we asked for. By the time we left on Saturday morning, I can't remember what the exact figure was, it was in our Just Getting account, but it was more than 3 times what we asked for. And we hadn't really known whether we were going to get anything, and Claire had been willing to put that money in herself and pay the expenses, pay the money there, because we felt that's what we needed. So that's how it started. People were enormously generous. We were in tears many a time during that week, weren't we, both of us? We opened this place up. I wasn't here because I live at the end of the side, so I wasn't able to be here every evening. But this place was open every evening for people to come and donate. So we put it out there as to, we took advice from organisations working around us to what were the priority items. And what we were hearing was it was men's clothing, men's shoes, blankets, this sort of thing. So that's what we asked for, and that's what we got on the board. And this place was full every evening of volunteers and people coming to donate stuff, and the money just kept rolling in, the pledges kept rolling in. So we were really heartened by all this, really galvanised, and we and what we're going to get there. We had a friend of a friend on Facebook, as a social media one, that lived in Dover, who came forward and said, we will put you up for the night. Lovely couple, we'd never met them before. We turned up at the door at something like 8 o'clock on Saturday night, and they cooked a meal for us, and they welcomed us, and they gave us a bed for the night, and we set up really early in the morning from Calais, and we were off, and at the time we're not really sure how this is going to go, not sure what's going to happen, but Claire had done her homework. We'd all done her homework, but she didn't take a lot of work, and she went sometime with some organisations working in Calais on the ground, who they had experience, they knew what they were doing, they knew what was required, and so we were taking advice from them for all of the previous week. This lovely Belgian couple living in Calais opened up a door to us that morning, and there were more volunteers, a couple of guys from young guys from England who arrived the day before, and a couple of young guys from Belgium. They helped us unload the van. We got to the centre, where there's a store, and there's a system whereby people can receive donations fairly. So it's a ticketing system, so everyone goes to the store and tickets are distributed, and the people on the camp can come to the store with their ticket and receive what it is they need. And so we're trying to match up with what people's needs are. Meantime, we had, in addition to the funding that we had in the Just Giving page, we have lots of cash, because somebody, I don't know, maybe somebody was the bright idea of asking people for the leftover euros. So people were coming in and handing in cash in euros to Claire, and how much did we have, Mike?
650 euros.
650 euros. And Michael's going to talk to you about what we did with these 650 euros. It's a busy day. It was an exhausting day. I can't believe it was just one day. It seemed like a whole lifetime's worth of activity, didn't it? It seemed like months. It seems like months since then now. Time's just taken on a completely different dimension since we started doing this. It's incredible. And it's down to you people here that have been kind enough to donate the funds and to donate the goods and being big-hearted enough to come in and share with us and share with people over in Calais. I think Michael's got something to say about the people we met there and the gratitude that we received from them, what we received of them. So I'd like to say thank you.
I would like to tell you a little bit about my experience in the camp known as the jungle. We used donations to buy food for hungry people living there. We went to the Intermarché, which was the only supermarket open on a Saturday. We had the supermarket street buying every tin of tuna that we could find. We also bought tins of stew, vegetables and pulses, fruit and biscuits, fruit, bread and biscuits. We also bought a lot of sweeties for the children, and to give to the people who would be waiting in the queue for food. We only just finished shopping with minutes to spare, and we ended up having to dump the food on the ground in the car park because the trolley man wants to go home for his Sunday lunch. We then loaded up the van in some kind of order and took the donations back to the camp to distribute. We were also given a crate of milk and some food donations to distribute with our food. The people in the camp had become used to lining up in the hope that they will get to the front of the queue before the food runs out. The queue was more orderly than the school lunch queue, but there was always one who tries to push in. We gave each person a large tin, some fruit, either bread or biscuit. While my mum Cheryl and another volunteer handed out food, I went up and down the line handing out sweets. We fed approximately 300 people, but when the food ran out, the queue was longer than when we started. We didn't bother trying to give away the microwave noodles that some Egypt had donated. After our food was finished, we went to the Jules Ferry Centre to meet some mums and their children. The Jules Ferry Centre is a centre run by a French charity on behalf of the French government. It has bed for 65 women and children, but there are about 100 people living there. I was lucky enough to be invited into someone's room. There were 2 bunk beds for 5 people. which had blankets and pillows, but the room had nothing else. One of the ladies I met spoke English, and she explained that she was from Sudan, and she had spent most of her money, and she explained she was from Sudan, and she had walked to Calais via Turkey and Greece. She had paid some of her money for fake passports and transfers, and were trying to get to the UK to meet family. The children had very little to play with, so I gave one boy my Buzz Lightyear. We had taken colouring books, toys, loom bands, which we showed them how to make things with. One of the older boys, who was about my age, made a loom band bracelet and wanted to give it to me, but I wanted him to keep it. Thank you all for your kind donations that allowed me to have this experience. I met some real boys just like me who wanted to play football and just wanted to be safe. It's not the children's fault they are there. It's your fault as grown up to sort it out so that all the children can be safe. Thank you.
I've scribbled some things in this book over the week because it's very difficult to know really what to say to you and how to convey to you what it's like. And you start an endeavour like this and you think you know what you're doing, and you realise, and Cheryl said, there's some kind of force within you that's compelling you to do something, and that force that's compelling you to do something overcomes the fears and the anxieties about actually practically how you're going to do it. And you check in and you make sure that this isn't some kind of ego trip and this isn't some kind of expression of your white saviour complex, and you realise that you're pretty sure that your motives are as genuine as human motives can ever be. And you think it's simple. You think that it's simply people with stuff giving stuff to people who don't have stuff. And it seems so straightforward, and then you get there and you realise that everything that you think you know, you don't know, and that life is very different, and it's very different for a lot of people. And, sorry, I was expecting upset. I believe myself to be reasonably fearless. At the end of the day, I got in a van, I couldn't drive, I drove to a place I didn't know where it was, I went to a place where I couldn't speak the language, so I consider myself to be relatively fearless. But I've never strapped my child into a life vest and put them in an inflatable raft and sent them across the Mediterranean where thousands of people have died. What do I know about fear? And I consider myself fairly hardy. I'm well camped, I have no problems peeing in the woods, but I've never trekked for thousands of miles without shoes on to end up in a camp where there is no running water and where there is no sanitation and where you have come to be safe and yet you are living in a squat, in a squalor. What do I know about surviving? And I consider myself fairly clued up about the world and clued up about life. I didn't even know where Eritrea was. And I didn't know that all of the young men in Eritrea are indefinitely conscripted to an army where they are ill-fed and ill-looked after. And if you attempt to leave, you are executed as a traitor. I can understand why these mothers send their boys across the ocean for something better. My worldview is very predicated on a very limited, narrow, privileged point of view, and the rest of the world is not like that. And we can't stand here and tell you what it must feel like for those people who have had to do those terrible things. But I can tell you from my experience what it's like to meet those people and to meet their own humanity face to face. And it feels shit to meet these people. It feels awful. I think we felt that we were going with a wave of love, and we thought this will get us through, and we'll go there. And not that we'll feel good about ourselves, but we'll feel something, we'll feel good about it. It feels awful. I've never felt so small and so ashamed in my whole life. Because these people are just people who want what you and I want, which is for their families to be safe. And I think what a lot of people have gone through is, you think, what is the point? What was the point of all that that collecting and donating and the time and the anxiety and sorting out, what we are doing is so inconsequential compared to what is needed. And I went through a lot of time while we were there thinking, we have completely wasted our time here. What are we doing? Or what do we think we can possibly achieve? And I spent a lot of that time thinking, the only way to solve this is a political way. And I was thinking, well, because we'd said we were going to have this meeting, I'm going to go back to this meeting and I'm going to say, actually, there's nothing we can do about this other than trying to exert some political pressure. And the problem is that you go there and you see 5,000 people living in squalor, and your world begins to open up a little bit, and then you realise, well, there are 5,000 people here, there are 50,000 people around in Greece alone in July. And it starts to get bigger. There are 11 million people who fled from Syria. All of a sudden, you are an inconsequential dot who has absolutely no ability to do anything about it whatsoever. And you become very disheartened, and I think we were probably close to it. We spent most of the week after we come back going, what was that all about? There's nothing that we can do. And so you go on the road less travelled, and you realise that you're completely lost, and what you thought you know isn't what you know at all. And what you thought your life was about isn't what your life is about at all. And then all of a sudden, there's a little voice that says, I can make a difference to one. And I was reminded of this, the starfish story, which I loved very much. I can make a difference to one. And you have to hold on to that, because actually the alternative is too painful to contemplate, that you can't do anything. And that's why people don't do anything at all, because it's too much. It seems that there's nothing that you can do, and people would rather close that down and do nothing. But doing nothing does nothing. But doing something changes everything. Doing something changes that very small, infinitesimal point in human history. It does change something, and you are the one who can affect that change. And one of my friends, when I came back, said, you know, when you feel ready, you'll look up and you'll see all the other little lights, and you'll realise that they come together and it does make a difference. So, what do we do next? Do you know what? It doesn't actually matter what we do next, as long as we do something. It doesn't matter. There doesn't need to be, this project's more important or that project's more important. We just have to do something. And we have to decide what that might do. There's been lots of in the forums that we've been involved in, lots of questioning the validity of other people's motives, and is the school more important than this, and is that more important than this, or is having a toilet more important than that? And do you know what? It really doesn't matter what we choose to do next. And practically we've come up with something that we think will work for us. We have to be alive to the fact that geographically it's difficult for us. It's not that we can just nip across the channel and drop off some food and come back again. And we also need to be aware that we want to do something that actually will make some kind of difference. So just after we left, there was a German architecture student, she's a PhD, she's an architecture student PhD, who happened to turn up to try to see what she could do. She tried out to volunteer, and she has come up with a set of shelters which are made out of pallet wood essentially, because that's what we use a lot to building. If you're not living in a, well, if you have a tent at all, you're lucky. If you're not living in a tent, they've managed to reclaim pallet wood and things like damp-proof membranes and tarpaulins to make shelters. And she's come up with a design for a shelter that can be quite easily adapted to different ways of living. I mean, the camp has Pakistan, and the camp has Eritrea, and the camp has the Sudan, and they live in slightly different ways, and she's come up with a design that different areas could adapt it for whatever they want to do. And you can build a shelter for £60. So we have enough money left. We have, as Cheryl said, we raised about £2,600 in euros. So actually of that money, we only spent about £600 because we'd only initially needed the £500–600 to get us there, and the rest of the money was extra. And we got so much money in terms of euros that we didn't need to use an awful lot of that money for buying food either. We bought what we could with the euros that we had. So we have left enough money to build about 20 of these shelters. But it will not be any surprise to anybody that knows things really 20 is probably not enough. So, what we're that's my business partner who's cackling in the back there. So what we're going to do is, our Just Giving page has another 15 days. I think our Just Giving page will be run for a certain amount of time. So what we would like to do is, we would like to go with this idea of build a family a shelter for £65. We're in touch with people locally there. It's difficult for us to, obviously, it doesn't make any sense for us to buy stuff here and take it. It makes much more sense to try and get it locally. So we're in touch with people locally that we can use to access the stuff and buy things for us. So that's what we would like to do, unless anyone else has a better idea or something else that we would like to do. But in all honesty, there are lots of people who are sleeping outside. That's maybe okay just now, but in a couple of weeks' time, it's not going to be okay. Part of the difficulty is that we don't know, the French government could build those at any time. There is a tacit agreement just now that there's an understanding that there's going to be some kind of camp there. We could say, well, we'll go and build permanent structures and we'll do this and we'll do that, but they may just be buildings, in which case we haven't really done anything that's of any help to us. There is also some suggestion that they may move the camp somewhere else, which is why we would like to put this off until about the end of October, till we know what we're at. But the plan would be between now and the end of October, beginning of October, so end of September, is to raise as much money as we can towards these shelters. We're also involved in another project that's involved furnishing a school, and we do have things to do to get involved with that. We actually have a load of school things that were donated here, and my cousin, who's a head teacher, has a load of fixtures and fittings for a school that we'll be able to take. So we may well go again, visit to take stuff in a big one. And if anybody wants to come, I'm more than welcome. I know there are some people coming here who are going on a run themselves. Somebody contacted me to say that they might go there as well. So there may be an opportunity to donate other physical things as well. It's like, hello? So maybe the opportunity we're going to donate physical things as well. Maybe we're happy to coordinate that on behalf of this group as well and publicise what they're doing. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you buy them this man in the street of coffee. It doesn't matter whether you smell it somewhere between. It just matters that you do something. And that's all that we're asking. We're not asking people to give up their lives and run to Calais. We're just asking that you do whatever that small thing is that you can do, because it does actually make a difference. And no act of kindness is ever wasted. And I think that's what it's taken us all week to get there, having been through the process of going, we can't possibly make any change here, to going, you have to hold on to that idea that perhaps you can make a difference to that. So thank you all very much for coming. We'd be happy to answer any questions. Ask us, it might be practical, it might be philosophical.
Can I ask a practical question?
Yes,
if you erect one of these shelters, but the design that this German person's come up with, can you dismantle it easily?
Well, that's one of the things that we're looking at just now. Actually, could we make them in some way portable?
Yeah.
Now, they could simply be taken apart because they are literally bits of pallet wood in a specific order. There is another guy who's in the camp, who's from the Sudan, who is an engineer, and they have come up with some of these geodesic dome type things which could be taken apart. So we're looking to see just now actually which one of these. The geodesic domes are a bit more difficult, they're a bit more finicky, but could be done. But they would be dismantleable and taken away, perhaps easier than these other big structures. But one of the things, well, two of the things we're looking at, first is we need an inventory of exactly what we need per shelter. The second thing is what we're going to do about insulating and heating them, and there's a whole group just dedicated to getting these rocket stoves off the ground. So there's things you can make out of tin cans and you can make stoves. So there's a kind of group involved in doing that, and we might team up with them with a shelter with a stove. But the issue about it being portable, that's why we want to just wait. There's a term, I think we felt at the end, so like, we're just going to go, we're just going to do it, and actually once you've been, you can come back and say, right, okay, we need to take a little bit of time to figure out what's the right thing to do. So portability of these things, or dismantleability, if you like, of them is one of the things that we're going to do. I mean, that is an issue, and there are people who are going, like this schoolroom thing it looks like a giant garden shed, so it's not a permanent structure because it's not the foundations in the ground. But one of the worries is that if the French government are able to see things looking a bit more like just saying, I mean, at the present time, the local authorities cannot even be persuaded to stop rubbish, and that's how anti or unhelpful they are being. There's a whole group, actually dedicated now just to sort out waste disposal, where actually people are going from the UK to pick up waste and try to get rid of it in some way, but they may indeed end up bringing it back. So we're hoping that with enough of those things that there may be enough embarrassment, if you like, factor into trying to do something about it. That really is the level of unhelpfulness that these people are facing.
The Just Giving page is open for a couple more days. If you've not already given, please donate and thank.
Sorry.
Does the £65, is that buy the material?
Yes.
Or is that buy the construction of it as well?
No, what we're going to do is, I think one of the things we need to understand is the people who are there are desperate to do something to help themselves. A lot of the things that have been built, and some of the stuff that in the church, for example, the people who are there built the church themselves. We've seen it posted on the Facebook page. We went in because we were invited in to see it. Oh, so I just found it on the website. Rachel Brennan. Maybe it's a sign. About whether we may pay people a small amount to build them. We haven't quite worked out how that might work. If I'm honest, I'm not personally not hugely comfortable with that, but we'll be a little bit more led by the organisations who are already helping there. But when people are desperate, it's not these people are sitting waiting for things to happen, and I think that's the other thing that you don't really understand. These people haven't come here and think, well, we've made it, we want to stay here. Everybody is in there wants to get the hell out of it as quickly as possible, which is why the issues about refuse and things, people say, why don't they pick up their own rubbish? Well, actually, most people are desperately trying to leave. They're not invested in staying there. And I think, from our point of view, we have to try and leave the judgment element out of it in that regard. These people have come a very long way and are trying to, for whatever reason it might be, are trying to, they're not all trying to get here, that's the other thing, of the people that we met, not everybody is trying to come here. They reckon perhaps about half have already requested and made their application for asylum in France, but until such time as your application is processed, you are nobody and you have nothing, you have no recourse to public funds or housing or any of those things, and it can take anything between 6 to 8 months for your application to be processed. So people are desperate to help themselves. What we are talking about is the cost of this stuff. We are not going to go to some kind of, angels and build it. They're going to build it themselves in the way that they want it, in the way that they want it done, because that's, it's not up to us to decide. We just want to facilitate the process for them to be able to do it for themselves.
Are there systems in place for the allocation of these shelters?
No, and that's part of it. I think.
Is that going to be?
Well, that's one of the things that we need to figure out. And in some ways, the people, I don't know if anybody's come across this woman Maya, who's on a lot of the page. She's like some kind of holy woman, as the kind of residents see her. They are very aware of who needs what and when, and they are much, they're much more aware. I think we've been pretty much aware by them about how we do that. Do we go to each area and we say, you have 5, and we don't know yet. It will kind of, I think. And I think the thing is, if you're somebody who likes to plan things to the nth degree, you can't plan it, because the people who yesterday aren't there. And it's very fluid and it's very difficult to really pin things down. You really have to be able to do it on the hoof, which is why this design, so we might get, it's nothing fancy, it just looks like a wooden shelter with tarpaulin wrapped around it. It's really not tricky, but it's very easily adaptable to what they might need. So somebody might come and say, well actually we need, some of the kind of village areas have got a kind of central place where people congregate to meet. So they might say, well we want one of these. And we say, well actually that's the amount of this smaller one, we will have to figure all of that out, but in all honesty, I could probably manage every day and get there, and that's not what will happen. I think we have to be a little bit open to that we really don't know. But the idea would be that we would want it to go to the area that we just need it. Whether we, and in fairness, people are living in villages alongside each other quite happily. There's no, I'm certainly not when we were there, there's no sense of any animosity or ill will or ill feeling. It's just that people happen to congregate with other people whose language they speak. That's really what it's come down to. And they are, they're just all kind of melded into one. And the area in one of the Afghan areas and the area that's got a lot of people who come from Pakistan have shop and a place where you can buy chicken and chips, isn't it?
Yeah, Macaulay.
That's right, Macaulay and
Fat
chicken. So you know, people are, you know, these people are not sitting waiting for us to come along and help them. You know, these people want to make their lives better. So we will do whatever seems to be right at the time, and answers your question, but we don't know exactly what that might be until we get there. And by October, it may all be different in any event, but it may well be that we start from scratch if it's proposed before then.
These people are just humans, just like you. Flesh and blood and bones. See.
I think it's a good point, which is there's always a need for shelter, and however that's developed, it's developed in some way. People are sleeping with construction.
And I think the other thing you have to remember is I'm quite happy to do this from your hands off and never go again. If I never had to go again, I would be quite pleased because it's not nice to have to face it. And I think we have to remember that it's not about us and us going and giving reason to give. I think we just have to say we are a group of people and this is what we're going to do. And whether some of us go or whether none of us go or whoever it is, if I never have to go again, I'll be quite pleased. Anybody else? And do you think we should do something miraculously different?
You could like get donations of money and then just give the money away.
Yeah, we could just give the money, but it's very difficult to know how you would do that fairly so that everybody would get something. It's hard enough trying to go and give food and it not feel and almost very, it just felt very, very wrong that somebody was standing for an athletic greens.
And some actually didn't get an acclimated things. That's not an easy thing to say to that man, I'm sorry, there's nothing there, except for
Vanilla essence. I posted something, if you haven't seen the post on Facebook, there was a box of donations that was given to us by Salam, who's one of the organisations, and people had sent things. And there were things in this box like the microwave noodles, the rose water, the vanilla essence, something of curry powder. And I was irrationally angry at that point because you just think, who thought this was a good idea? You have to bring it back and go, this person did the best thing that they knew at that point. But you kind of like, oh, gamma. It's a good idea. Because now I have nothing to give this man. If he'd sent a tin of beans, that would have been alright, that man would have had a tin of beans. We went through the whole thing, and I think what we can do is be honest about what our experience was. I mean, we know no more than you do about what those people must have been through, but we just know what it feels like now to have been and to see it for ourselves and to be able to tell you what it is.
Is it worth maybe, like obviously, because there's a bunch of people up there who are going to do it, because I think things like toiletries and blankets and clothes, how we go through them all the time, because I obviously want you to get passing out to charity shops. So your group could, I guess, facilitate that with other groups if people still wanted to donate. That's it. We're not saying...
No, we're not saying...
No, we're saying that's it. We'll do shelters and if people still want to get other things, then...
We'll find other ways. There's other ways. And actually, if we go again and we take the school thing, then that's what we'll do. But I think what we would do is, we would probably do it in the way that we did it, is do it over a short time scale, say come from this day to this day, because otherwise you've got stuff and all this. I think we're much clearer. I think we were quite, in the end you'll see there's stuff we just couldn't take because we just didn't have room and we had to prioritise what we were going to take. And you'll see there's some over there that are bagged up cash for clothes because actually we just couldn't go and clear out, they give you the whole bag. And so we had to go through everything and say actually, I don't think that one's going to do very well, you know.
the bulk instead of the door.
Yeah, stuff like that. So we're much clearer now, I think, about what we would specifically ask people to send.
I'm just thinking because you did it for such a short period of time, there's quite a lot of people I know that were doing it. They were like, oh, well, I've got blankets and clothes, you know, I've got toiletries. So,
and I think what we'll do is,
I
think what we'll do is by the group is we'll say, we're likely to go again. Just hold on to it, because actually it's difficult enough that the scouts are going to be back this week, we're going to have to clear out here. So what we'll say to them, yes, we will go again, hang on to it, and we'll make sure that people are going to better it. This is the week that we're going to be collecting stuff in and let people come and do it. Because the other thing as well, that the longer that you do it over, the more work it becomes. You know, we were very, very fortunate, we had lovely friends who came and sorted it because it was only we were only asking each person to do a very small amount of time. So yeah, I think we will, but because it's easier in some ways for people to give stuff than it is to give money. They don't really know what that's going to mean and what's going to happen. And actually, if we only raise enough money, or if we only have the money that we had already raised, we will build to campus and that we can say that that was our bit. But I think we would probably like to do some, we would like to do more if we can. We've got some friends who are going to help us you get some little information and that so if anybody has ideas of things that they would like to do, or they want to raise money, or they want to be involved, but this is not our project. We just happen to be the people who set it up, and we're more than happy for anybody else who wants to get involved to do so. As long as we don't end up, as happened this week, was a whole Facebook rant about what they might call the name of a particular group. And all I did was I just posted, that bit from Monty Python Michael Brian, where you're elected today, but I just posted that and said, I'm out of this. Because I don't really care what you call it, to be honest. I just want you to do something.